So what does it mean? What is the implication of this? What are the problems that are being caused? So let me go through a few more little pieces of motivation before we get into some of the answers. First of all, hours. Working extra, I mean, actually, I told you this, I think I mentioned this in a meeting that I had earlier. The average American worker now works 51 hours a week. I mean, we're past the 40-hour work week. In the UK, it's something like 54 hours. I don't know what it is in Russia, but the 40-hour work week is gone. I don't know where it went. I'm not even sure why we even talk about it, because no one works 40 hours anymore. If you look at vacation time taken, in the United States, I think we've lost like $750 billion of vacation in the last 20 years. People just aren't taking it. People just don't take as much vacation as they used to. Now, there's some evidence that the Generation Z workers are actually more into this again, so maybe the work styles will change, but millennials are working really a lot of hours. Okay, so my children who are in their 20s are working a lot. People think it's a badge of honor to work extra hours. I mean, in a lot of cultures, in Asia, in China, in Japan, working a lot of hours is considered to be a good thing. You know, I'm not going to make a value judgment on that. You have to decide for yourself, but this is kind of the way the world has gone. And it has affected people's psychological and mental health. In the United States, 1 out of 6 Americans are taking sleeping pills or anxiety pills to deal with their own personal stress. Interesting thing on this. One of the reasons people feel stress at work is not just because they're working a lot of hours, but they are losing a sense of social community amongst their community. And I'm going to show you that data in a minute. And this is, you know, and I'm not trying to depress anybody. I'm just trying to show you what's really going on, is that one of the things that helps you mitigate stress, that helps you enjoy work, is relationships, friendships, a sense of social community. And in many parts of the world, particularly in the United States, the sense of social community has broken down. People don't have as much of a sense of social community, and some people think it's because of social networking and the internet that's caused that. So that's one of the reasons that this is happening. People are not trusting in their political institutions right now. Income inequality is a big issue. I know it's a big issue here. It's a big issue in the United States. It's a big issue in Germany. It's a big issue in the UK. I mean, in most developed economies, we have not recovered from the 2008 recession in an equal way. And so the political institutions are under stress. You know what's going on in the United States. If you read anything about what happened last week with the Supreme Court, it was pretty weird. And this is a global survey done by Edelman, which is a global PR firm. Only 29% of Americans, I think this is Americans, but I'm not sure if it's that different around the world. But people trust CEOs more than they trust their political institutions. Now, I don't know how, you know, is this true in Russia, or would you say it's the opposite? Nobody wants to talk. But the issue is that we are asking our employers to be social institutions. That's not what companies were designed to be. Books that was written about responsible companies. If you look at Unilever, if you look at Nike, you look at some of the highest performing companies in the world, they are acting in a responsible way. Salesforce, you guys know Salesforce, the company Salesforce? They do business here, I think. Salesforce is in San Francisco, where I live. Salesforce gives their employees in 1 week a year, in addition to their vacation, of VTO, volunteer time off. Every employee can take a week and volunteer in their community, and every 2 to 3 years, you go on a sabbatical, and you can go anywhere in the world for 6 weeks to contribute to a local community. They have funded the largest children's hospital in my neighborhood, is mostly funded by Salesforce. They're very, very involved in the community. It's an incredibly passionate workforce. It's considered to be one of the best employers in San Francisco, and they do not pay the highest wages. People who work at Salesforce could make more money at Google or Facebook or somewhere else, but they work there because they like it, because it's the kind of place they relate to. So this is a big issue that's driving employment brand. I mentioned the income inequality data. I don't need to show you this, but it's actually kind of a scary chart. It's still going up. And you know, I don't know what the answer is going to be to this, because I've been reading and kind of watching this for the last 3 or 4 years. But I think when I see Amazon.com raising their wages, that's a sign that businesses are reacting to this. I'll tell you another story that's really kind of a funny thing that happened to me the other day. I was meeting with a CHRO, and we were talking about this issue of contract workers. And she said to me, she said, you know, we have people in our company that go into the cafeteria and they talk with the people that are serving them food, who are contractors. And the contractors have no vacation, no overtime, no health care benefits, no retirement benefits. And the employees are coming back to us in HR and saying, I don't like this. It doesn't make me feel good to have people working in our company that are not paid the same way we're paid. In most companies, if you're a contractor, you're not getting vacation, you're not getting health care, you're not getting retirement, you're not getting any of that. And you're sitting in the same office, sometimes in the same meetings, working with the people right next to you that have all these benefits. And people don't like that. It doesn't make them feel good. So this is not just an issue of society, it's an issue inside companies too. And so I think there's a pretty big pressure building to raise wages so they're more equal for everybody. And you know, you may say that's a bad investment, but I actually disagree with that. I think in a business where 85% of the market cap is based on intellectual property, paying people a fair wage is probably a really, really good investment. So anyway, so that's another factor. Here's another issue that I became aware of recently, and I don't know if this is so true in Russia, but it's true in the United States. Because of the income inequality, because the hourly workers have not been keeping up with the salaried workers, the people who don't have as much money are not managing it very well. They don't have savings. They have student loan debt. And the data on student loan is amazing. First of all, in the United States, the average retirement account is only $3,000. I mean, that's just, I couldn't believe it when I saw these numbers. I just couldn't believe this. 50% of American households have no savings at all. If they got sick or their car broke down, they wouldn't be able to fix it, or they'd have to take out a loan. 50%. I mean, these are really sort of startling numbers. And its results, and it's not just, you know, a sad state of the economy. People bring their financial stress to work. If they're worried about their mortgage, if they're worried about their house payment, if they're worried about their food payment, if they're worried about their kids' education, they're coming to work and they're not ready to work. So this is falling on employers too. And there's an entire industry being built on financial well-being tools that employers can give to their employees to help their employees better manage their money. I was at a meeting at ADP. You know ADP, right? Yeah, I assume they're here. ADP has launched an entire suite of financial management tools for their customers to help employees better manage their money through digital wallets and digital services, because there's so much pressure for this. So this is another factor that's going on in the economy. And then there's this. We're living longer. So the good news on this is that one of the greatest scientific inventions of our generation is health. We actually are healthier. We are living longer. We are, as a population of the world, getting much, much healthier. And in fact, the statistics on this are that a baby born this year will live 6 months longer than a baby born 1 year earlier. So every year, longevity is going up by almost 6 months. That actually adds up really fast, if you think about it. Now, I don't know if that's going to continue. That may not be possible, but that's the rate it is right now. So what that means is that you have workers in your company, you know, up here in their 60s, that probably could work into their 70s or 80s, and certainly the people my kids' age that are the millennials, they're going to live into their, there's a 50% odd that they're going to live into their, in fact, there's a 50% odd that I'm going to live into my 90s, and there's a 50% odd that they're going to live into their hundreds. So they're going to have careers that will probably span 60 years. They might have a 50 or 60-year career. Most companies don't last that long. I mean, a lot of industries don't last that long. So we've got issues of taking care of people at this stage of their career, not only people at this stage of career. I mean, we spent a lot of time for the last 10 years talking about the millennials and what are the why are they different and what do they want and what do they need and on and on and on. But we really haven't talked about what these people want and what these people need. And they're a very significant opportunity in the workforce, especially in a country like Russia where you do have a limited population. If you can put these, help older people reskill themselves, train themselves, have new careers, you have a whole other workforce there. In fact, the two fastest growing segments of the workforce in the United States and here, according to the editor I just talked to at a press briefing, are women and people, baby boomers. Those are the fastest growing segments, those are the largest segments of the workforce. So women entering the workforce is a gigantic increase in population, and the baby boomers who are about, there's almost as many baby boomers as there are millennials in the workforce. So that's an opportunity to think about the employee experience. What is the employee experience like for a 55-year-old, 60-year-old, 65-year-old person in your company? I'll bet you haven't even thought about it. I mean, most people don't even think about it. But that's going to be an interesting opportunity too. Here's some statistics from the Deloitte Human Capital Trends that I think is just, really kind of startling. Millennials, 2/3 of millennials think that their standard of living will be worse than their parents. That's kind of a sad thing. I think it's something we need to think about. 77% of millennials actively take part in volunteerism and charity work to help improve their community. 88% of millennials believe that business should be a positive force for social change. I mean, I wasn't raised that way. That's not the way it was when I got out of college. 75% of citizens would like to see income inequality reduced. And another statistic that I thought was really interesting, 2/3 of consumers said that they would not buy products from companies whose CEOs are not taking positive positions on social issues. So when you buy soap or food or cereal or clothing or whatever it is that you buy or your consumer goods, now I don't know if this is true in Russia, again I'm telling you about data that's around the world, the reflection of the CEO is reflecting on your consumer brand. So it goes back to the point I made earlier that the way you treat your employees and the way you treat the community is directly a contributor to your business performance. Okay? I'm not making this stuff up. This is real data from Deloitte.